Hi, I'm Tim. Welcome to Watchbox, and thanks for logging on. If you love this watch, please email me, tmosso@thewatchbox.com. It's in the description below. Your purchase and pricing email question line for buying this or any watch you see on any Watchbox platform. Please reach out to me directly. Email tmosso@thewatchbox.com for pricing. Today we are discussing a latest generation Rolex Oyster Perpetual Datejust 36mm in stainless steel with a white gold bezel. This is the reference 126234, the latest generation with the 70-hour power reserve and the chronergy escapement, caliber 3235 internally. But what sets the Datejust apart is that it is truly a canonical Rolex, one of the core collection watches. It's great for those who are going to own just one Rolex, or those who perhaps are going to own just one fine watch. Originally launched in 1945, the 40th anniversary or jubilee of Rolex, the Datejust was at the time designed to keep the date just, regardless of the position of the hands, so the date would jump right at midnight. Winston Churchill was one of the first owners, and it has since then been a watch for connoisseurs of high luxury. The watch, of course, is nicely sized, so it's a unisex option at 36mm in diameter by 12mm thick by 43.3mm from lug tip to lug tip and 45.3mm from end link to end link. A little bit broader across the wrist. The space between the lugs is 20mm. Now the timepiece, of course, is nicely made and nicely sized, and at 36mm and only 12 thick, I throw it on my 16cm circumference wrist, and you can see just how well it fits. Especially when I get a little further from the camera, you can see in proportion to my arm as a whole, the watch is really nicely sized, and especially down the barrel, you can see here, the lugs are nowhere near the edge of my wrist. From over the top, you can see the same thing, and the cuff shot showing that sloped case flank with thin construction is going to allow this watch to slide underneath a tight dress cuff. I would recommend this watch for a wrist as small as 13cm circumference. Two notes on Rolex metals. First, we have white gold bezel and we have a steel case, bracelet, and clasp. Rolex has its own foundry. It makes its own cases, clasps. It makes its own bracelets. It makes its own alloys, so it uses what's known as gray gold, an 18-karat white gold alloy that's white all the way through, so it never needs to be rhodium plated to look white. The metal beneath, steel 904L, is a highly anti-corrosive steel. 316L is standard in the jewelry and watch industry, but Rolex goes with 904 because at the limit it is a little bit more resistant to corrosion. So body fluids such as sweat, grit on the wrist, salt water, these things cannot corrode the metal even if you fail to rinse it. It is that robust. Oyster bracelet, the original Datejust would have been born with the Jubilee to match the occasion of its birth, but the Oyster with a 3-link design is sportier. So if you want a sportier looking Datejust, you get the Oyster bracelet, and that's what we have here. It's a little bit of a taper, a 3-link design, polished centers, polished outer faces, satin finished shoulders, removable links fixed in place by screws, and then a clasp, as you can see, with a polished straight through, polished flanks, satin shoulders, a lift lock system, so you can see there's a beak and a hook internally. It actually latches when you close it, so you can't just pull it open. You do need to unlock it, so it's a very secure system. Internally, the clasp is polished, you can see that, and there is the 5mm Easy Link quick adjust, so you can pull it in or out without a tool, and it's the equivalent of adding or removing one full-sized link from the bracelet. Now you can also see, if we get inside the clasp, that there are 3 divots drilled in there, so you can use a strap tool to change the anchoring point of the bracelet inside the clasp. With the Easy Link, the removable links, and the 3 divots, you have 3 ways to size this watch. The case is handsome. Nicely contoured on its case flank, a little bit of tumble home, compound curving, tapered lugs polished on the hoods as well as the flanks. This is anything but the super case that you'll see on the GMTs, the Subs, and the Sea Dwellers, and the Explorer 2s. No. This is much more like what you'll see on the Daytona and the Date-8s. A graceful case, twin lock crown, screw down, 100-meter water resistance, and then in addition to a lovely faceted, immaculate, and unrefinished bezel, here we have a dial that is a sunburst blue metallic. We have white gold indices, white gold hands, white gold Rolex crown, because white gold does not tarnish or oxidize. That's why Rolex uses it on dial fixtures. Cyclops eye magnifier to more easily read the date, and then you can see a little crown between Swiss and Made. On all new Rolex model families rolling out since 2018, that little crown is slowly populating the catalog, so you get a general idea of the vintage of this watch just by noting that it is in fact one of the crown double dials. Taking a look beneath, we're going to use our imagination here. But there is a caliber 3235. I mentioned it at the beginning of the video. The big change is that the old 48-hour power reserve is now 70, so basically 3 days. It still has hacking or stop seconds and a quick set date, still pivots on 31 joules, still beats away at 8 beats per second, and the chronometer certification here, yes, the movement is COSC certified, but Rolex then cases it up, puts the movement in the case, adjusts it in 6 positions, not the chronometer standard of 5, and assures that the watch will run no worse than +2, -2 seconds per day. Now that's impressive because COSC, remember, is -4 + 6 seconds. What else do you need to know? It's a tough movement. It now uses a rotor bearing instead of the old jeweled staff for the bidirectional winding system, so it's more shock tolerant in that respect. It also uses a full balance bridge with a free sprung index for shock tolerance. The handmade Breguet overcoil hairspring that helps the watch to keep even time in every position is also a blue oxidized niobium zirconium alloy called Parachrom Blue, highly anti-magnetic, protecting this watch, so water resistant, shock resistant, and anti-magnetic. This watch has the full set. Reach out to Team Mosso at thewatchbox.com for purchase and pricing details. Rolex Chromolite Blue Lume by Night.